Hello everyone! Today I'm gonna do something that I've never done before. I'm not sure how it's gonna go, but we'll try it out. I just got back, not 15 minutes ago, from seeing Godzilla King of the Monsters, the new Godzilla movie, and I have lots of thoughts to share on it, and I thought I would come on here and just give my first impressions. This is not gonna be an official review. I will be doing that whenever I come to that point in the Godzilla review series. This is going to be more of an informal video where I just have more of an emotion-based response to the things that I saw in the movie. So, let's get started. I guess I should say, to preface this, that even though every time people ask me, oh, what do you expect from the next movie? What are you hoping for? I said that I was cautiously optimistic about it. That didn't turn out to be completely true. As each trailer came out, and especially as music from the soundtrack started dropping within the last couple of weeks, my optimism increased and my caution decreased to minimal levels, to the point that I was absolutely excited. I don't know if it was that first trailer with the Claire de Lune, which was just so epic, or if it was the release of the soundtrack where I got to hear that Bear McCreary did use original themes from Akira Ifukube and what's his name? I can't remember his name, who does the Mothra song. I'll put it down in the subtitles. Anyway, my excitement skyrocketed, and I was like, I would really like to see this opening weekend, which, you don't know this about me, probably, but I don't go to the movies. I don't really prefer the movie theater experience. I like to watch movies from the comfort of my own home, but I was really excited for this one, so for Godzilla, I made an exception, and I had the opportunity to go to the first screening at my local theater, so I did. And I know, you're like, stop talking about the build-up to the movie, just talk about the movie itself. Okay, so Godzilla King of the Monsters. I liked it. My list of what I wanted from this movie was relatively simple. I wanted a lot of monsters and monster action, and I was hoping there'd be maybe more practical effects or something like that, and I wanted good music. It didn't have to be original music from past movies. It could be all new stuff, but I just, the music in Godzilla movies has become kind of a big deal for me. I did not expect that when I started the series a year ago, but I just have fallen in love with it. So, in terms of those things, the monster stuff and the music, I left the theater pretty happy. The 2014 film took a lot of flack for not having enough Godzilla in it, not having enough monster fight footage, so obviously the people who made this movie responded to that criticism by pumping this movie full of monsters, monster footage, monster fights. There is a lot of it. It's like, here you go, take it all in, and in a way, it's a little bit. It's not too much, no. I heard one other review of this movie before I watched it, and I only paid half attention because I didn't want to know too much going in, and I got the impression that reviewer felt like there was too much monster action, and it was a pretty mediocre review, but he also was not a Godzilla fan. And I think that makes a big difference. If you don't care for Godzilla movies, if you don't care for monster movies, then you're probably not going to love this. But if you are a Godzilla fan, and there are those little nuggets that you get really excited about, and you are looking forward to seeing Godzilla fight King Ghidorah, and also throw Mothra and Rodan in there, and a whole bunch of other monsters as well, then I can't imagine you not liking this movie. I took a whole bunch of notes, not while I was watching the movie, but in the car. So yes, there are a lot of monsters. There's Godzilla, plenty of Godzilla, right from the beginning. That surprised me. That wasn't a bad thing, I thought. There are a lot of Godzilla movies where he appears in the first scene or the second scene, and there are plenty of big entrances. I feel like every single entrance was a big dramatic entrance. which is okay. Look at his entrances in the Heisei films. They are all massive and very dramatic, and we love it because we love Godzilla, right? But I also loved the introduction for King Ghidorah. This was really cool. He looks so good. I was really pleased with the design. I thought the design was strongly reminiscent of the original King Ghidorah. The sound effects, the design of the heads. There is one thing that happens with Ghidorah that I thought, I've never seen that happen before. That's a little weird. It was also kind of gross. Godzilla movies have kind of different rules than some other things, where if something happens that you've never seen before, it doesn't necessarily mean that it can't happen. If you look over the history of the series, Godzilla develops new talents and new abilities all the time, so the monsters aren't set in stone what they can and cannot do. I also loved Rodan's intro. I feel like Rodan is a lot of people's favorite kaiju, but he kind of gets forgotten by the mainstream people. You know, everybody knows about Mothra, and most people know about King Ghidorah, but Rodan, some people know about him, some people don't. He has a kind of different design in this movie, which I thought was intriguing. He's dark, almost black, and I think that was supposed to be like lava, which makes sense. He comes from a volcano, and he's got sparks and embers flying from him, and that was really interesting. The best thing about the monsters, though, I felt, was that there's something about them that seems real, that seems tangible, and to achieve that with digital effects is pretty amazing. There were certainly some effects that I thought were a little bit obviously fake, obviously CGI. Really, the most obvious thing I thought was a scene where you see a bunch of dead fish, and I was like, oh yeah, those are fake dead fish. But Ghidorah and Rodan, those looked real. But the other thing that I was most looking forward to, the soundtrack. Okay, here's the thing. One of the reasons why I don't like going to the movie theater is because it's too loud. It's so noisy, and it's so dark, and it bothers my eyes, and when I come out of the theater, I feel disoriented, and I usually have a headache. The problem with the music is that I just couldn't hear it. The movie was so loud, the volume was too high, there are certain things that are so noisy, I felt like, you gotta be kidding me. I know the music is awesome because I already listened to some of it. So that was a bummer that I went into it knowing at least the music's gonna be great, and then I felt like I couldn't really hear it much at all. But I could hear it well enough in certain spots to know that, oh, they're playing Mothra's music right now. Mothra's song is crescendoing. I can sort of hear it. And when they played Godzilla's theme, which they did several times, which I was very excited about, the big, full lower brass theme, I could hear that. It was when I think they were playing the march that I couldn't really discern it over the noise of everything else. It is a very stimulating movie. A lot of noise, a lot of flashing. There is an awful lot that happens in the movie. There's a lot of stuff crammed into it, and yet it's still 2 hours and 12 minutes long, and I stick by what I said 3 Godzilla reviews ago, that 2 hours is too long for a Godzilla movie. Yet, I don't know what they could cut. Looking back over all the different plot twists and, oh, we gotta go here, we gotta go there, things that happened, I can't really pinpoint anything that I feel like, oh, they could have dropped that. I didn't exactly feel like I'd been sitting there for 2.5 hours, but I did really have to go to the bathroom, and there were a couple points in the last half hour, 45 minutes or so, where I caught myself thinking, is it over yet? Is this gonna be the last thing that happens? Oh, no, it's still going. Okay. Alright, fine. There are a lot of characters, but I don't feel like that's necessarily a criticism. the Showa movies, the Heisei movies. I don't know yet about the Millennium movies because I'm just about to go down that road. They have a lot of characters, and in at least half of the Godzilla films, the characters, the human element, are not as interesting. I often felt like when people were talking about 2014 Godzilla, that their complaints that, like, I didn't care about the human characters were kind of funny because, I don't know, I've sat through a lot of Godzilla movies where I felt like, I don't care about the humans, just get to the monster stuff. That said, the ones that I've enjoyed the most, that I've found the most memorable, are the ones that have a stronger human element, a stronger human plotline, like the original 1954 film, and Mothra vs. Godzilla, Terror of Mechagodzilla, Return of Godzilla. Those all had human stories that I feel have stuck with me. Several of those are the more serious ones, too. I guess I like the darker, more serious Godzilla films. The acting here I thought was fine. Everybody did a good job. I didn't feel like, oh wow, that guy, he was terrible. I can see some people saying that there's too much comic relief, or that there are some lines that don't stick. I don't know. I thought the comic relief was spare enough to not be a distraction. Most of it came from Bradley Whitford's character, and I thought it was fine. It was better than some comic relief that I've seen in other Godzilla movies that I thought didn't work at all. There are characters who return from the 2014 film. In particular, I felt glad that they gave Ken Watanabe more to do. He seemed a little bit wasted in the 2014 film. I don't mean wasted, I mean, you know what I mean. I don't think I was aware in the previous movie that his character's name is Dr. Serizawa, which is obviously a throwback reference, Easter egg, whatever the kids call it these days, to Dr. Serizawa of the first film. There were a couple things relating back to that first movie. One thing is kind of a spoiler, and I felt like, oh, they're bringing that into it again? Okay. But there are also things taken from a couple other movies. There's one character who says she's a descendant of people from Infant Island, and we see some photos, and everybody's a twin, and so you're thinking, they didn't put the twin fairy girls in here, but they kind of referenced them. There's also something that I don't want to give away, but let's just say I'm really glad that I saw Godzilla vs. Destoroyah before I saw this, so that I could recognize a couple things, and it just made it that much more exciting. All of these things you could probably categorize as fan service, but honestly, I didn't mind at all. Every time one of these things popped up, I was like, oh, that's like the thing! I had gotten a certain impression about what the storyline was going to be from the trailers, and it wasn't quite the way I'd expected. The whole human race is an infection thing played out a little differently than I thought. It wasn't quite so bang you over the head environmentalist as I thought it might be, which is fine. The whole thing where they refer to the kaiju as titans, I'm not crazy about, and they talk about how these monsters were gods on Earth before our civilization came along. I don't know about that. It seems kind of weak to me. At one point, they named how many monsters this Monarch organization has found, and I can't remember what the number was. It was either 17 or 34 or something like that, but it was a lot, and I was like, are you serious? What? We do see glimpses of some of them. They kind of tease you with different names of other ones. I didn't see Anguirus in there, which I thought was kind of disappointing, but it delivered so much with the monsters that to be like, well, they didn't put my favorite in there, I'm upset, is really ridiculous. I don't feel like there's much to complain about with the monsters, unless you feel like they overdid it, and I don't. I'm pretty content. I could probably ramble on about more things, but I think we'll just leave it at that. I don't know how long this video is. Oh, there is one other thing. I did want to say that I was a little dismayed at how many people left the movie theater as soon as the credits started, because they missed out on 3 things. There is an end credits scene, which I feel like if you missed it, you didn't miss a whole lot. It's teasing something, but it's not that big a deal. Although the post-credits scene does have Charles Dance in it, so if you went to the movie to see Charles Dance because you're a Charles Dance fan, then you should stay for that, to see more of him. But more importantly, if you walk out just as the end credits are starting, as half the people in my theater did, then you miss 2 big music things. First, you miss the new cover of Blue Oyster Cult's Godzilla, which is a song that I feel like Godzilla fans have probably wanted to appear in a Godzilla movie since it first came out in, the 70s? So that was a big deal. Awesome cover. And the other thing is that after that song ends and the credit scroll starts, you get to hear audible versions of the music. Bear McCreary's new arrangements of Mothra's song and the Godzilla theme, or the Godzilla March. I still don't know which one's which. There's the big lower brass one, and then there's the other one, which plays at the beginning of the opening credits in the 1954 film. But I love those. That was amazing. I didn't say anything in the theater, but I felt like yelling, "Yes! This is just what I wanted!" So to summarize, I liked the movie. I enjoyed it, although I didn't enjoy certain parts of the movie theater experience, but that was kind of to be expected because that's how I feel every time I go to the movies. I feel like my senses have been abused. I really liked some parts. I thought there were a couple parts that were awesome. I'm really pleased with what they did with the monsters. I love the soundtrack. Maybe would rather listen to the soundtrack separated from the movie itself, which fortunately we're able to do. I think it was better than the 2014 movie, although I didn't think that was so bad. I did not hate it as some people did. I've seen it a couple times, and yes, it has its flaws. I think some of the criticism is valid, but I liked it well enough. But we're not talking about the 2014 film, we're talking about this one, and I think this one improved in areas that needed improvement, and gave me pretty much what I was looking for. Could it have been better? Sure. There's always room for more improvement, but as of right now, first impressions, mostly emotion-based, I liked it. I hope you enjoyed this first impressions video. I hope it wasn't too messy or too complicated to follow. When I come out of a movie, my thoughts are kind of all over the place, and when I do a review, I have the advantage of going back over things again and organizing my thoughts. Can't do that with this, which is probably why I don't expect I'll make a habit out of this kind of video, but I just wanted to come on and share my thoughts with you. I have never been this early in seeing a new release in my life, so this is really different. I have no idea what other fans will think of this one, so I guess we'll find out in the comments below. Go ahead and share your thoughts on this movie as you see it. As always, thanks for checking out this video, and I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching!